And what I wanted to do is share a couple of thoughts, a couple of frameworks. I'm gonna keep this short for now. I'm gonna do a much longer presentation, a much longer version of this, and probably turn that into either a podcast or a webinar of some sort. But one of the questions that we're getting from a lot of startups out there, a lot of teams right now is, how do I sell, and what are the strategies for selling in a volatile market? So obviously right now there's a lot of volatility going on in the marketplace. There's a lot of instability within the market and within the customers that you are both servicing, people that are already paying you and using your product and service, and those that are prospective customers for you. And so what I've done is organized a couple of just thought frameworks that I think are important to keep in mind as you're going out there, and both internally speaking with your team and thinking about how we're going to approach the situation right now the right way. And also, how do you think about the conversations that you're having with your customers and prospective customers? So like I said, I'm going to try to keep this short, and let's go ahead and dive in. So selling strategies in a volatile market. So the first thing I think is really important is, don't believe everything you think. This is something I saw on a bumper sticker a while ago, and it really, it's one of those weird things where you like a bumper sticker, and maybe you've come across this before, but I think it's important for all of us right now that we're all getting bombarded with information, however accurate or not, about what's going on in the general marketplace. All of us are getting bombarded internally. You're being affected by the marketplace in different ways. I know for me personally, now obviously my wife and I are both working from home. She is both a pilot and she's a certified flight instructor, so she's teaching people how to fly airplanes. Well, she has to now figure out how to do that online. And she's a PhD economist at UC Davis. So she's a project scientist researcher at one of the top research institutions in the world. So she's a pretty busy person out there right now. Secondly, we've got our son home. And so we're homeschooling him and trying to figure out curriculum. And of course, I've got clients that I'm working with that are getting impacted. And so, like, both externally, all the data is coming in, all the information, we're trying to figure out how to handle that. Internally, we're trying to figure out how do we manage things at home? How do we optimize our schedules so that we can do all the things that we want to do with our clients and we need to do for our customers? And it's easy to start creating opinions and start creating these thoughts about, like, oh, what's happening? And projecting out, oh, I think this is going to happen, or I think that's happening right now. And the most important thing I think we can all do is make sure that we don't believe everything that we think. We really need to adjust for using data, getting information, and making sure that whatever information we're using as part of our decision-making process to act, that it should be based on quality information, and just challenge your own thinking so that you don't have your personal biases affect how you're interacting with the marketplace. And so the second thing, when you talk about the marketplace, this idea of relationships first. So, take for example, a prospective customer, somebody that maybe has been in your pipeline for a couple of months or longer, somebody you maybe met at a conference last fall, and you've gone on site, you've met their team, or you've generated some conversations over the course of weeks and months with this person. And I think one of the things that's easy to do is to worry from a mindset, like from a company CEO executive standpoint, we got to get a sale, right? We got to figure out how to push this thing through. And one of the things we can do that can really damage the opportunity to do that is to push too hard with a sale and damage that relationship. So I think what's important for all of us is to look at relationships that we've built, and even if we can't execute on a sale in the short term, whether that's this week or this quarter or this month or in a couple of months, the relationship that has been built can easily evaporate if we push too hard, if we handle it the wrong way. So focus on being human, focus on the relationship first, because if you have that relationship and you maintain that relationship, then later on down the road, there'll be an opportunity for you to serve that customer. The third is this idea that there's no such thing as all and everyone. So later on today, I'm running a live session, an office hour session open to the public. And one of the questions that has already been submitted to me is like, hey, in my market, What am I going to do now that everyone in my marketplace, all of the companies I'm selling to, are going to be affected by this situation? And I think that's really dangerous thinking from a growth standpoint, and frankly, from a solution provider standpoint. There is no such thing as all and everyone or none. I think if we overgeneralize, then you're setting yourself up, frankly, for a situation where you are allowing that external impact to adjust your way of responding to it. So, in all of the marketplace, or everyone that you serve, there are still people that are functioning their businesses, have to function their business. And frankly, if you think hard about isolating down and just focusing on like who is the one customer in all, let's say you have 8,000 target customers in your marketplace, or you're focusing on Fortune 500 companies, to say, well, all Fortune 500 companies are going in shutdown mode and they're not going to buy my thing. It's not true. Out of 500, maybe there at least one? I bet you there is. And that just means that you need to focus in. How are you messaging? Who are you talking to? Ramping up the conversations that you need to be having to figure out who that one out of 500 is, because chances are, if you find one, there's more than one out there. So there's no such thing as all and everyone. And so just make sure you're not overgeneralizing and putting yourself in a position that you're setting yourself up for inaction and failure. Another maxim here that I want to think about is thinking in terms of 90-day increments. So Christmas, at the time I'm doing this, it's March the 20th. So Christmas was actually fewer than 90 days ago. Less than 90 days ago was Christmas, right? So think about how quickly time goes. And so 90 days ago is Christmas. So think about 90 days from now. And so when you going back to relationships first and thinking about the marketplace, we're really only starting off week 2 or 3 in this volatile market. And already we're seeing with our clients a lot of stabilization with the customers that they are speaking with. And at a minimum, even if those customers and prospects they're speaking with, even if those customers are not stabilized, at least they're moving towards a path of stabilization. And so 90 days from now, if you think about your selling, think about the planning that you're doing and the conversations you're having with your prospective customers, if you think 90 days ahead to the beginning of Q3, the world is going to change a lot, hopefully for the better. And even if it doesn't change for the better, it's going to be more stable. We're going to be much more aware of how the situation is affecting all of us. And so again, instead of thinking about like, how do I get a sale now, think about planning for the next 90 days. And that leads me to the next piece, which one of our coaches, Matt Weber, shared this with one of our clients who was worried, like, okay, well, how am I going to get somebody to buy right now? He sells in the healthcare sector. And Matt's advice to our client was, hey, your prospects don't panic buy, so don't panic sell. This goes back to the Christmas was 90 days ago, right? It goes back to there's no such thing as all and everyone. It's relationships first, right? So your customers are not going to panic buy, so don't panic sell. You don't have to push the sale right now. And remember that ultimately your customers are buying outcomes. They're not buying your product, they're buying what your product will get them. And because they buy outcomes, it's then your responsibility to take a step back and say, okay, instead of pushing this thing forward, what are some really simple steps that we can take with our prospects to create stable outcomes? How can we move forward and advance the relationship, advance the opportunity to help them get to a place where they want to go, which is the outcome, which is stability in the short run and streamlining later on, and then growth after that. And so if instead of worrying about pushing on the sale, what if we just peeled it back and say, what are 3 easy things we could do today or this week or this month that's going to help you, the prospect, move a little bit closer to the outcome that they want to get to? And that brings me to this maxim, which is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. This is, if you Google this quote, there's lots of different people that have said this. I heard it from Jocko Willink, who is a retired Navy SEAL. And Jocko talks about this all the time, where slow is smooth and smooth is fast, right? If you try to rush, if you try to push things, if you try to hurry all the time, then what ends up happening is things slow down, you make mistakes, you forget stuff. And so slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So peel things back, think about how can I move slowly and smoothly, because if I move slowly and smoothly, then everything else that I'm trying to do will move much more quickly. And so when it comes to speaking with your customers, this concept of be the mayor of your town, right? Your town as a founder, your town as a salesperson is the customers you serve and the problem that you solve. You know more about the problem that you need to solve than even in most cases what your customers know, because you've dedicated your entire life. Your whole business is focused on solving that problem. And so it's your responsibility to be the mayor of your town, meaning you need to wrap your arms around the problem that your customers have as it relates to the current environment and own it. Be a leader. Show your customers how you can help them and serve them to create a more stable environment, to create a more streamlined process, especially in a time of volatility, because your customers are just as nervous as you might be. They're just as nervous as their neighbors. They're just as nervous as their competitors. And people will borrow certainty from the person who has the most of it in the room. And so by being the mayor of the town, by stepping up and saying, hey, prospect, I know that this is really affecting you, and here's what we are doing to help. So we had this with one of our clients is doing a complete pivot on their product. So he sells hardware equipment to surgery centers, which are outpatient surgery centers. They're all shutting down because of they can't see patients, but he can take his same equipment and help with setting up impromptu hospital beds in hotels and dorm rooms. And so he's approached this from a very certain environment, saying, hey, we can help you. And you can do the same thing with your customers and say, hey, I know this is affecting you. Here's how we can help you get more stable. Here's how we can help you be more streamlined. Things are going to change right now with their people, with their process, with their product and their tech. And so you can approach them as a leader and offer them certainty. They will borrow that certainty from you and then follow you to the next step in the process. And then finally, remember, your customers are on their hero's journey. So if you've followed this concept of the hero's journey, if you heard about it before, Joseph Campbell articulated this a couple of decades ago. Your customers are now thrown into this other world, not by choice. Like this other world is now happening to them. They're on this hero's journey. They are the hero. And now they are walking through the woods. They're walking through the forest. They're fire over here and dragons over there and complex problems that they have to solve to get to the place they want to go. That's where they are right now. And it's your job to be their guide, to help them, not for everything in their business, but for the problems that you solve. Because if you can help them solve that problem, that's one less thing they have to worry about. That's your job. That's your mission, is to be their guide. So this is just a couple of quick thoughts. Like I said, I'm planning to do a much longer presentation, probably a podcast or a webinar. But if in the meantime you found this useful, would you, I want to help as many people as I can with this message. So if you can even think of just one person that needs to hear this message, please share it with them. Please like or comment on this post, because I do want to help people get the right frameworks in place to approach the business and approach their business and approach their customers the right way. Okay, well, look, thanks for watching. Hope this has been helpful. And this is Scott Sambucci signing off.